Hi. Okay, so I am live, but I'm gonna wait a couple seconds. Not that I'm expecting anybody to join me because you don't know I'm here or going live, but I know it's what you're supposed to do. So I'm gonna wait just a couple seconds. But I am gonna tell you that the reason I am going live is because I wanted to just answer a question that I saw in the Facebook group, and that it's a good question, and it's probably one that a lot of folks are dealing with right now, especially if they're in kindergarten or first grade, which if they are, they're probably still in their classrooms or, depending on where you are in the country, just getting ready to leave. So I'm like the world's worst person to time these things, but that's okay because this is just a way to give information. The post was about struggling with individual letter sounds. My kids don't know them. I need to be more multisensory. You don't. Multisensory instruction's great just from a kid's perspective, meaning see it, say it, do it, feel it, move it. You know, they're concrete thinkers. So multisensory doesn't have to mean like writing in the sand. It can mean learning with your body. But the better alphabet is the fastest way on planet Earth. And that is not a scientific statement, but there is scientific evidence. It is an evidence-proven melodic mnemonic that will automate or allow automatic recall of every possible sound a letter can make by itself. Every possible sound a letter can make by itself, and in the most likely successful order of attack. Meaning, C says K and then S, G says G and then J. Y can say yeah or E or I, although that's not the most likely order, but that's okay, because Y is supposed to say yeah, but we know when he's sneaky, E or I. Hard C, hard soft C, hard soft G, sounds, 3 sounds of Y, long and short vowel sounds. The reason that that's so important to know and then to understand what to do to make it happen is because you'll waste a lot of time doing something for nothing. You get so little bang for the buck out of these individual letters and sounds. I mean, honestly, what can kids really read and write with individual sounds? Bit, bat, hit, sat, sit, rat, lit, lat. I mean, there's nothing. You can't get through a whole sentence in any word, in any place, in any part of the world, if all you know are abacada, effaga, ha'ajaka, umanapa. It takes 2 to tango. Kids need individual sounds. They need the sounds letters make together the sounds letters make by themselves and the sounds letters make together. They need a little bit of both, more and more every day. So with the better alphabet song, that is to knock out as fast as possible, to automate, to give automatic recall for those individual sounds so you can get on with what actually matters. So I want to answer that question, and I'm not one to type things when I feel them so strongly. So I want to say this in a way that's really clear so that everybody can know how to get their kids to know those individual sounds and move on past that. Programs will spend a year teaching individual letters and sounds with the reasoning that they are abstract skills that kids who are concrete thinkers when they're 5 and 6, it's foreign. Meaning it's foreign in terms of the way they think and understand. They're abstract sound symbol relationships that have no bearing on anything that's actually useful because, like I said, you can't really use them to read or write anything but bit, bat, hit, sat. So we want to knock them out fast. The Better Alphabet song uses motor memory to do that, but motor memory that is smart. It's not motor memory that's going to get stuck in time where they've got to start at the beginning and go all the way to the end. It's manipulatable. It's interchangeable in that what we're really doing with the Better Alphabet is we're controlling the next utterance of sound. We're doing that with a melodic mnemonic. The melodic mnemonic is proven with an RCT study that is an ESEA level 1 study, which means it's the highest level of evidence proven, and it's 1 month. 1 month is what it takes. And 1 month's the average. I used to say 2 weeks to 2 months, but now we've revamped and expanded the first RCT study, and we can now clearly say it is 1 month on average. And when I say on average, I mean with ELL kinders in a randomized control study with use and non-use. So you can find the first part of that study already on the website under research, Secret Stories website, but the next piece of it's going to be uploaded because I think that's just a little clearer. And like I said, the time frame's tightened. Now, the reason that I want to talk about the Better Alphabet and multisensory instruction is in the case of the Better Alphabet, multisensory instruction, aside from the fact you're singing it, is not a good thing. If you are acting like the big bad bear for B, or if you're doing beautiful sign language for the letters, what are kids going to look at? They're going to look at how cool you or Johnny or Susie is when they're acting like a bear, or they're going to look at the beautiful hands in the sign language. Normally, that would be fine. Fine. You better be doing something interesting to get kids to care about what this weird B is. Who cares, right? So those are your hooks, and you need every one you can get for this abstract formula-based data that we're delivering to a kid who's eating his foot. But not with the Better Alphabet Song. The Better Alphabet Song is a scientific exercise. It is not letters and sounds. It is a motor memory exercise that has a very specific recipe. It is repeated, and it is repeated with strong muscle mouth engagement and eyes glued to the letters. You can't vary it. You can't say, I don't like the repetition. I think I'm just going to do it 3 times. It's a very specific recipe that is what makes it evidence-based. It is not a song. It's actually 26 mini songs that let you pull and piece in any order these sound symbol connections. And we're controlling the next utterance of sound with the letter name. So it's the letter name that triggers the sound or sounds of each letter. You don't have to think about this or understand it or even care about it. All you have to do is sing it twice a day, every day, and don't do anything with your body that is more interesting than the letter that they're looking at when they're singing it. Because kids have to see the letter when they sing the sound. They have to see what they sing and sing what they see. What we're doing is we're forging that sound symbol connection so that kids can travel both ways. Sound to symbol, symbol to sound, letter to sound, sound to letter. If you're doing something more interesting than the boring B above the chalkboard, they'll look at you or Susie or Johnny or anywhere. And the problem is Johnny isn't going to be in the book next to the letter B. The B symbol is. So they have to have that orthographic memory of symbol. They have to take the visual symbol in while they're singing its sound. These things have to come together. They can't come together if we're snipping them apart by interrupting it with something that as teachers we would normally do, multisensory instruction. Especially with these horrible individual abstract letter sound skills, we'd have to do something like that to give kids some bone to chew on to get them. But that's why it takes you all year, because we're going through the front door when we're trying to teach these sounds. The Better Alphabet Song isn't teaching them, it's automating them. And it's going through the back door, and I won't get into this part because I want to keep the video kind of short, but the back door, we're talking about early brain development back to front. And I'll tell you the only thing, well, not the only thing, one of the earlier developing areas, even earlier than these feeling-based behavior connections that the secrets are based on, is this area where we process pitch, rhythm, and intonation, this more primitive part of our brain. It's actually further back than the mid-rear part, which is the social, emotional, feeling-based networks. And I'm being very figurative here. But it's even earlier developing. It's an area of the brain that we rarely use for purposes of teaching anything that is by default needing to be manipulated. Meaning we might sing songs and be excited that kids can learn things quick when we sing a song. Problem is they can't do anything with it because it's a read-only disc. It's locked in. The Better Alphabet doesn't do that. It takes all the gold, which is the immediate access and recall, but because of the way it repeats for every single important piece, the letter sound patterns, it's really like 26 mini songs. So they can pull the letter name, sound pops out, or sounds pop out. So you're automating this by singing it twice a day, every day, for at least 2 weeks. You have nothing that you're doing with your body other than pointing to the letter that's making the sound. A says, ah, 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 ah. Now I know I just contradicted myself because I just did something with my hand. Only for the vowels. Everything else you don't. B says, b, 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 b. C says, k, 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 but it can also say, s, 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 s. So the only ones that you are doing something for are the vowels. And that is because the vowels cannot be reliably pulled with muscle memory because they're too close together. There's not enough variation between them. So they have a cue that gives us everything about secret stories is immediate fast access using what kids already have to grab things they're not even supposed to get, at least not anywhere near as quickly or even in the year that we're teaching it. So for the vowels, instead of trying to teach the schwa, what do you say when you don't know the answer to a question? Poof, there's your short U. Why is that important? Because short U actually is a vowel that has no lip position and no tongue position. You are just hanging in the wind, and blowing air over the vocal cords. So what sounds like that kids can connect with, what they say when they don't know the answer to a question. Now I'm not going to go into the story about why Superhero U also has a short and lazy disguise and why he likes to hang around and act like he doesn't know the answer to a question and go, but let's just say he does. So by you demonstrating that cue, you're triggering the sound, but you're not triggering it because kids are trying to remember about their lip position. They don't need to grab a mirror and match themselves to a wall. That's a longer way to the same path, and it may be a useful path for kids that have clinical needs to work on abnormal or challenging articulation, speech, and language deficits. But you would be amazed at how many deficits you can bypass if you don't hit their weakest points to target them. What I mean by that is, you know how with TH, we have a lot of kids that'll go because they hear you say and to them auditorily they sound exactly the same. That's a true issue. But you know what doesn't cause that issue? The secret. You know why? Because when kids stick their tongue out at their little brother, they don't go, they go. So we're tapping into something they already know that lives inside them to grab instantly, immediately, like now, it's ours, it's done. We can't unsee it if we tried, a first grade consonant digraph, and we're doing it in pre-K. Why? Because we need to. And I don't mean like you have to shove everything down their throat. I don't mean that at all. I mean, Thad is in preschool. The little boy whose name is Thad, he's in preschool. And all he knows is T says turtle, ta-ta-ta, but his name's not Tuh-ad, his name's Thad. Does he need to know T also says T? Yeah. Does he also need to know why it absolutely never does anytime he sees it anywhere in his pre-K world, whether it's his name or the title of a book or every other word in a sentence, this, they, that, those, them, the. I mean, text is everywhere. And if kids are in a classroom, they're looking at it. So you got a choice. Do we want kids to just look at words all day long, or do we want them to actually read them? And I don't mean read them like I'm proficient, I can read. I mean make sense out of them, see familiar faces. It's kind of like being in a class where they're speaking French versus English. If you speak English, a class that's all in French, you don't even know what you're listening to. But a class that's in English, you might pick up a few things here and there, see some things that actually make sense to you. That's what we want kids to get, is this, we want them to take away the gold from our instruction, even at the earliest grade levels. But it takes two to tango. Thad needs to know T says T, but he also needs to know that when T and H get together, they always fuss and argue and end up sticking their tongues out at each other and going, now they don't need to learn, memorize, practice. They don't need to do anything to own this skill other than hear it once, have access to it always on the wall, right there where they need it, to grab the sound they need to read or the spelling they need to write. And like with the individual sounds, we're forging this orthographic memory between the sound and the symbol. So if you say, kids can instantly identify the culprit that makes it. Or if you hold this up, even 3-year-olds could go. Now, it doesn't mean they're ready to transfer that higher level processing and apply it, because this higher level thinking, executive functioning area of our brain is where all of this has to move in order to use it for the purpose it's intended. But the really great part about what we do already in our classroom is we are giving opportunities for use that are endless, boundless. They're everywhere. The question is, what do kids have to make sense of them? Like if all they know are T says turtle, t-t-t, like they know individual letters and sounds and that's it. You can't practice the T sound ever, because T never says t in anything other than maybe a book about Tom and his turtle trotting to Toronto. And that's it. Every other time they see it, it's saying in words like this, they, them, that, those, that. It's everywhere. So in order to practice these individual letter sounds, they have to have the other piece of the pie, which is the sounds letters make when they come together. And that's a secret, which is why you do not hold this back. You don't hold this back. You don't hold it back, because they need this. In order to practice the H sound that goes, you need to know the sound to read the word her. So it takes both. If all you know are individual sounds, you get h. If all you know are secrets, you get Takes two to tango. You need both. So how do you practice individual sounds? By giving them the sounds letters make together too. Bit by bit, piece by piece. A little more this week than last week. 3 more this week than they had the week before. 5 more this month than the month prior. Every piece is power. Every piece is power. It's not about mastery. It's about more of the code, sooner, faster. The more they have, the more sense they make of what you're already doing all day long. So when you're looking at words, any words, everywhere there is text, there are words. And in those words, letters come together and they make secret sounds. Or they don't come together and they make individual sounds. But if you have a little bit of both, boy, you're a powerful force when it comes to text. If all you have is one and you're a one-trick pony that can go abacada, efagaha, ijaka, ulamanapa, you can't do diddly squat to actually read and write anything until you get some phonics patterns, which just slows everything down. Slows everything down. Because what it means is you can't maximize the value of what is actually happening 7 days every single day across the week. Like you're not getting the value, the bang for the buck. You're just doing everything kind of randomly. You're doing letter sounds and then you're looking at your calendar. Well, you know, it's Thursday today. A. We got 3 secrets in that word. 3 secrets in that word. Now, if kids don't know any of those, and by the way, those secrets span first grade and second grades, scope and sequence. I just actually found out that the R-controlled vowels are in lesson, and by the way, you know I'm a fan of UFly, right? Because I think it's an efficient and I think it's an effective tool that really makes short work of good, strong, structured practice. Now, UFly is one of many really good playgrounds to give kids structured practice. But the just-in-time tool that they need outside of that structured practice are these secrets. Because I found out that UFly in lesson, I think it's lesson 70, so it's in January of second grade is when the ERR is formally introduced. Now, you'd be mortified to walk into a first grade classroom, even at this time of the year, and see kids who couldn't read the word her or write the word turn. And yet, it's not going to be formally introduced until second grade, January, I think it's lesson 70 is ERR. You could do this in pre-K on the very first day of school. I mean, I'm not saying to, it's really not a purpose to do it in pre-K on the first day of school, but it's no harder than what 3-year-olds do on their own when they get together with the car on the floor and go, ah! So you're just using something that lives inside them to be the conduit to this world of text that is surrounding them. And you may not think that you are teaching R-controlled vowels or even needing R-controlled vowels in kindergarten or even first grade. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Pre-K needs them because if they don't have them, they can't make a hill of beans worth of sense out of anything they're looking at. And honestly, this is easier than learning just the R sound because the R sound has to be taught through muscle memory using the better alphabet. And that takes about a month. It's like a tennis lesson. It's coming through the muscles. This, you can't unsee it. It's yours the minute you laid eyes on it. As long as the embedded mnemonic poster's on the wall. If they can't see this, then it's just a cool story that they can do in the moment and it means nothing and it has no value. So if you're using those itty bitty little flashcards on your wall, get the posters. Get the posters, get the book. Do not put those flashcards on your wall unless they're your second set of visuals. And then they're fine because you can pull them down and use them for hands-on access, which is perfect. But kids have to know that these live somewhere on the wall, all of them up, ready to go, so that they can get the sound they need to read, the spelling they need to write, and sometimes it's just a glance. Sometimes they're just checking out what you're doing by looking up and noticing, oh, that's why she said her. Oh, okay, her, I get it now. Like that's the brain system at work. It's a pattern-making machine. We're always looking to confirm and verify what we see as what we know and what we know is what makes sense. It's a constant process. We don't even do it with conscious thought. Kids do the same. So as long as it's up, they can access it. And all of it starts becoming part of their powerhouse to make sense of text across the day. And this is how kids learn their letter sounds. It is hard to learn in a vacuum. So I would say to the post that was saying about, I'm really killing myself trying to teach these kindergartners their individual letters and sounds and they're not getting them. And I'm doing this song. We're doing it in intervention. They've got the mini mats. You need to be the conduit for the Better Alphabet song. If kids are using the mini mats, that's because they've already been trained to understand eye glue and muscle mouth. Eyes are glued to the letters while they sing the song, and they're working their lips, tongue, and teeth because it's motor memory that's pulling in those individual sounds. So those two things have to happen, and you have to make sure they are by demonstrating the sense of urgency that only you can bring as a teacher. Visiting them where they live on the wall. So there are Better Alphabet anchors on Teacher Pay Teachers. You don't have to have mine. I just made it so that the superhero vowels and sneaky Y and QU were superimposed into it, so you didn't have to hang those posters above the alphabet, your alphabet train, but you can use your own alphabet train and just put those posters above if you want to. As long as they're somewhere that when you're pointing and you're going, for A, they know why, because they can see the superhero A with the short and lazy sound. Or when you're singing, you says, again, they can see why. So you can either print out mine, the Better Alphabet anchors on TPT, or you can put the posters above your alphabet anchors, but you have to do it with them and you have to point as you're singing so they can see you see the letters and you can see them gluing their eyes to the letters. And if you see their eye glue starting to get faulty, say, oh, no, the girls are going to win. The girls' eye glue is so much stronger than the boys. Come on, girls. Come on, boys. I know you can win. Like, we'll do boys against girls to see who's got the best eye glue, the best muscle mouth. It's a constant egging on to get them to focus. And it's not like you do this all the time. You have to do it so they understand the expectation. Once they understand the eye glue and the muscle mouth is just the norm for Better Alphabet, then you don't have to knock yourself out. But you do still have to be this conduit to make sure that they're all looking up at the letters while they're singing them. And you want to make sure that they're not being intentionally distracted because you're doing some multi-sensory thing that's going to be way cooler than the symbol that we want them to identify the sound with. I can tell you exactly right now what you'll see if this is going wrong. And it's so easy to note, and you could probably guess. You will have a class of kids that can sing all the sounds and have absolutely no idea what any of the letters actually look like. And that's what happens if kids act like normal kids and roll around the floor and wiggle around with their friend and poke their buddy and do everything other than focus on the boring letters that are above your board as you're singing. So that's why it's so important for you to be the go-between of pointing to the letters as they're singing the song, singing the sounds, and you're modeling how to work your lips, tongue, and teeth because you're doing it too. If you have the Better Alphabet song video that's on Teacher Pay Teachers, not the Jack Hartman one. I love Jack, but that one's just for fun. It's not a melodic mnemonic and it will not automate letters and sounds because there's only a 3-time repeat. It's not a melodic mnemonic. The melodic mnemonic has an 8-time repeat, and it's actually formulated for the purpose of automating no matter what's going on up here for the kids. So if you're doing the Jack Hartman song on YouTube, that's just for fun. It is not the one you do twice a day every day. That's the one that's in your Secret Stories kit or that's on Teacher Pay Teacher on the video. But if you use the video, only use it once a day. Sing it with your actual kids, pointing to your actual anchors, using yourself as the model and the conduit for the other time. Don't just turn the video on twice. And the reason is really obvious. You turn on a video, you don't know what kids are looking at. Kids are going to start bebopping along to the song, and they're going to start looking at each other. Everything's more interesting than the letter that's above your chalkboard. So this is why at least one of the 2 times, if you have the video, you need to be pointing and doing it yourself live with your kids. If you don't have the video, you're just already doing it twice yourself live with the kids. You can do it once in the morning, once in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. But in between the morning and the afternoon, guess what you're doing all day? You're talking about secrets. And you know why you have to? Because the letters aren't making those sounds that you just said they're supposed to in that song. You can't tell kids that A is going to say ah or A and then point to the word August without looking like a big liar. So that's your perfect opportunity to put your money where your mouth is and follow your own breadcrumb trail. And say, August. That's weird. August. That doesn't make much sense. But at least you read it the way you told them to, and then you can think out loud and say, oh, you know what? I bet there's a secret in that word. Can you guys look up at the wall and tell me, do you see any letters up there in the wall that are in this word? And guess what they'll see? You're right. I do. I see them too. You know what? I forgot to tell you. They have a crush on each other. So it's your opportunity to use like these individual sounds. That's setting the stage for realizing, hey, something's up. They're not working. And the reason they're not working is there's a secret in that word. And they already are trained in the systematic process of knowing where to go to see if that's true. And as soon as they spot one, guess who they're going to come and harass to find out what it is? You. And that's where kids start driving their own instruction. And you're just holding on to the train behind them, because this is a second grade skill. And there has not been a single time that I have ever taught a grade, pre-K, kinder, first, even when I was in fourth. Never have I ever had the first day of school go by without talking about this secret, because it's always been August, because thank God I never taught in a school that started in July. And I was never lucky enough to start in a school that started in September. So it's always August, and I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to tell them to do something that I won't do myself. So if I tell them ACE is at an A when I sing my little song, and then I just walk over here and read the word August, that makes no sense. Makes no sense. I made a whole different sound for A than I told them to. I skipped the U entirely, and then I just pretended none of it ever happened, and I went to gust. I can't do that in good faith. And I certainly can't do it every single day until the end of August. You know what that does? That makes it harder to teach A and U and all the other letters that I'm working so hard to teach on the individual side. This is why it's harder to go slow. This is why it's easier to go faster. This is why more of the code makes it easier to read and less makes it more difficult. And this is why there's such a need for speed. But not speed in terms of overwhelm, pushing kids. Child play-centered connections that are already living inside them, and using those to attach to and make sense of this world of text around them. And think of the secret stories as your just-in-time tools. Just-in-time tools to make sense of that, and this, and that, and this, of everything that's around you. From Thad's name to Howard's name to the month of August to the spaghetti sauce in the lunchroom. Everywhere there's text, there are secrets, and the just-in-time tools you need to make sense of them are these. And paired with the individual letter sounds, taught with the Better Alphabet song, you will be running in a month. If you wait to teach these until the individual sounds are done with the Better Alphabet song, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, because you're giving yourself no way to reinforce and practice hundreds of times across the day the individual sounds, because you can't practice the H in the word her if you don't know the You can't practice the E in the word the if you don't know the s. You can't practice the s in the word sa if you don't know the ah. So if you want to really, really roll like a snowball through the code from the very first day of school, you need to think about it as it takes two to tango. Kids need the sound letters make by themselves and the sound letters they make together. And by giving both, I'm actually making it easier, and it's taking no time instead of 3 years. So this is where I'll kind of stop, but I promise the person that made that post, I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful that you went back in and edited what you said at the top, so we really were understanding where you were coming from. I think a lot of the folks in the comments, some of the folks in the comments, they don't even use secret stories yet. I'm still thrilled that they're in our group, and I love that they're sharing what they do. But a lot of what they're sharing is the long way around, because it's involving higher level processing for cognitive acquisition of these sound symbol relationships with concrete learners who may be developmentally all over the place and may not have the auditory capacity to discern, let alone produce or hear the differences between these individual sounds. When what we're doing is bypassing all of those things. We're bypassing every weakest possible, not yet reliable point of readiness, and we're taking it through the back door. Because brain develops back to front, and our earliest access points, our ins, our automatic ins, our easiest, fastest paths in are here. It all will have to transfer here for use, but we can backload it or front load it, however you look at it. So it's not that folks that are responding in the comments about all of the phonics focused, skill-based practice are wrong. They're not. It's just, if you're at Disney and you got a fast pass, use it, right? You don't use the fast pass and then go get in the line again. So please, please, please try the Better Alphabet song. Do it twice a day, every single day. Watch how quickly those letters and sounds take hold, and pair it with secrets. Start tossing out secrets. If the Better Alphabet song lays the foundation for what letters are supposed to do, the secrets explain why they aren't. And at the end of the day, as upside down and backward as it seems, the secrets are easier than the individual sounds. Because the individual sounds have no actual meaning. They're coming through motor memory, like a tennis lesson. You can't just go to one and know how to play tennis. It's something that works its way into your muscle system. This doesn't. You're tapping into what already lives inside them. So it's instant. This doesn't. Ow! It's instant. This doesn't. It's instant. These you get, it's immediate use. Immediate use. So don't hold them back. Let them go. And watch both start to rise like a flood. And then watch what kids start to do in your daily instruction as all of this is actually starting to come together and everything you're saying and doing is making total sense. That's what changes everything. You can't go back. Once you know how to make things make sense, you can't stop and you can't unsee it once you've seen it. So as soon as you get started, you're golden because you'll be pulled along the way and far faster than you would ever pull yourself. The kids will pull you. So get every single poster up. Don't hold them back. Don't keep them in your closet. Don't just put up 5 at a time. Put every single poster up. If you only have the flashcards, you have to have the posters. I swear it's not going to work with the flashcards. Put up the posters. Sing the Better Alphabet song twice a day. Start telling secrets. Don't hold back. Make connections wherever you see them. Let kids do the same and watch what happens. And thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry I talked so long, but I hope this helps every single teacher out there that is just trying to stay sane right now and get some progress made before the holidays hit because you can do it. And I'm actually going to share a link in this video of a kinder teacher she's just amazing as thousands of you are, but she actually is showing not just that kids have mastery of it, they're doing what's called the letter runs, which are the next piece on that musical download that comes with the kit. And it's where they have to flip, flop, twist, and turn sound symbol connections so that she can show the speed and automaticity with which they can use these sound symbols that are letter sounds. They also have secrets as well, but in the letter runs, they're doing it backwards, they're doing them sideways, they're doing them with different tunes. You can do them to jingle bells. And it's the next step after Better Alphabet because it mimics what you have to do in real life text. See the letter make the sound, see the letter make the sound, see the letter make the sound in any order, in any direction as quick as you can. So I'm going to share those. She filmed almost every kid in her class and their classes are all ELL. So it's awesome. I'm going to tag those so that you can see those. And then that'll kind of help me put my money where my mouth is as far as showing you what this can look like if you started it on day 1. And if you didn't start it on day 1, start it right now because before Thanksgiving comes, you'll be there. You'll be there, even if you're in kinder. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your night. And thank you for all those who are still on with me.